Okay, so this is the assignment 2 information session for CSE 365. Really, we're just going to be going over sort of some information about the homework assignment, how to get started, some tips on common problem areas, and then we'll go ahead and take some questions afterward. So this one is sort of just about reading input until the end of file. I've got Java, C++, and Python. Sort of getting started code snippets. With Java, you're going to be using a scanner, or really you can do this anyway if you're more comfortable and kind of know what to do in Java. But one of the ways is you can have a scanner object, and in a while loop you can have the object check for whether there's a next line in the input, and then print that line out to the console, and then keep looping over and over. And once it detects that there's no next line or the end of file, it'll break that loop and your program will be finished. In C++, it's similar, just with standard get line. Then that'll store it into a line string or a string type. And then you can just print that from inside the while loop, and that'll just keep going until the end of file. Really, the simplest one to do is Python. All you have to do is for line in the standard input or standard in right here. Just print the line, or while you're in that loop, check and see what type of command it is. And really for all of these, it'll apply. You can check and see what type of command it is and react accordingly. With this security policy, there's some quick tips that kind of we've thought about to go about this process. So really, this is the main part of the assignment, right? Checking whether someone is allowed inside. So really, you can think of this as a process that can't be interrupted by anyone else once it's been started. So say person 1 inserts their key, and we can set some variables to keep track of who entered what key at any given time. So when someone inserts a key, you can keep track of who entered it and what key they're using, what key is currently inserted into the lock. So when someone, if someone tries to turn the key that isn't the first person, we can print an error message. And then once the process is finished there, once the first person enters the house, we can allow someone else to insert a key and turn that key. While this process is ongoing, we can allow people to type the command who's inside and leave the house, and that shouldn't interfere with anything else with the authentication process. Does anyone else have anything quick to add? And here's just some quick pseudocode for part 2. So, like I said, you can have those variables that you have. So from the arguments that you have when you execute the program, that first one is going to be the owner, so the name of the owner that can change the locks. And then from the next argument on, you'll have all the keys that you can store inside, whether it be a list in Python or an array list or vector in C++, or whatever it is in Java. And then obviously you'll just have the this firefighter secret key that's always going to be allow access to whoever uses it, and that's going to be constant throughout the program. So you'll just have that built in as a constant, however it is in whatever language you're doing. And then you'll just have a loop that goes through while there's input, kind of what we showed in the first slide there. And you're going to check if it's a certain command, then like insert key or turn key or enter house, etc. You're just going to check that and then output whatever's relevant with the command. So say person one enters a valid key and they turn the key, you'll print out such and such person was able to turn the key, and then they can enter the house. Does anyone have any questions or want me to go back to the slides?
I can talk a little bit more about the pseudocode portion.
Sure.
So yeah, in the first slide, we went over like the end of file, going through the list of input. So it's actually going through each one as it would be. In this scenario, this is more like just read until there's nothing left, and we don't have to worry about like a for loop through each line, or it would. I mean, it works, but I mean, this is just another way you could use exceptions to code this way. For the firefighter, will there be special input for that? I don't think so. I think it's just the same way it works normally with the other keys. Like if someone enters in the firefighter key and then that same person turns and tries to enter, it should work normally. But again, like if the user inserts the key and then someone else that you don't know tries to turn the key and enter the house, it's not supposed to allow them to enter the house or turn the key. So one of the things you need to make sure is that the same user who turns the key or who inserts the key is the same person who turns the key and is the same person that is entering the house. Otherwise, it would deny access. And you might have to set up more variables within the do work within each of these if statements, or inside the conditions, or inside the do work statements. So one thing might be you want to keep track of who inserted the key and what key was inserted. So you might have another state variable that is keeping track of that right after the try statement or before the while loop, depending on how you want to write it. Probably before the while loop, so it doesn't rewrite or write over what the states are. And then at the catch EOF is just a basic end of file error that for Python it's just it's EOF and then error for that. And you would just call that like a return statement or just exit, or exit would be one way to exit the program. And we can, if anyone has any questions, feel free to put it in chat.
Excuse me. So when a user put in secure house, does it assume that the owner is in the house after that, or no?
So if my friend owns the house and then I'm trying to get into his house without him in there, I can do that if my friend gave me the key. So if I know the key and my friend isn't in the house, I can insert my key into his house and then turn and then enter the house, no problem. So the owner does not need to be inside the house in order for someone else to enter the house, or I guess even quote break in using a key that they're not able to use, or using a key that they've gotten access to. There's just no like man in the middle attacks where I'm inserting the key and then this guy comes to me and like kicks me out of the way and then turns the key and enters the house. Do we want them to, or allow them to like unmute so that they can, oh wait, yeah, just unmute if you have a question or just type in chat.
Should I stop the recording now for the separate question section?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.